When I talk to sellers, 99% of them have tried to remove reviews and have had no success doing that.
How do negative reviews contribute to higher return rate?
Bad reviews or negative reviews aren't always a terrible thing. You can use those to, once again, improve your product. You can use those to understand processes and maybe improve things.
I know that they can tell it's an AI created review. Do they weigh that any different?
The only consistent thing is change. Amazon's constantly changing, right? And so you also have to iterate as well. Your product is going to have to evolve. There's going to be somebody that's going to have your product, but 2.0 features.
Negative reviews aren't just annoying, they're dangerous. They lower your ranking, steal your sales, and crush your credibility without you even realizing it. But what if you could stop the damage before it's too late? Today, we're going to dive deep into how negative reviews impact your Amazon sales and how to prevent them. So let's get started. Today, our guest is Shane Barker, founder of TraceFuse, an innovative company revolutionizing the world of product reviews on Amazon. With over 2 decades in marketing, Shane has combined his digital marketing experience with the Amazon platform to launch TraceFuse. So let's get to a sponsor and we'll get right back. Hey, Amazon, Walmart, and TikTok sellers, we're in Q4 and I know the pressure's on. So how do you rank higher and sell more during the busiest time of year? Well, as a certified Amazon partner agency, AZRank has the expertise and proven strategies to take your projects to the top, driving visibility and sales across all platforms. With a proven expertise in optimizing search rankings, AZRank guarantees your products stand out during this critical shopping season. You can email AZRank today at hello@azrank.com. That's AZRANK.com. And don't forget to mention the Beard Guy sent you, and that's going to unlock an exclusive discount. And welcome, Shane.
Awesome. Thank you, Norm, for having us, man. I'm excited about this today.
Yeah, it's going to be great because I think a lot of people, when they just think about, oh, I'll get an Amazon review removed, it's next to impossible to do. I mean, you can't do it. Or, I think I know it all. It's like that Excel spreadsheet. You think you know everything about Excel, but all you know is the sum and the average. That's the only formula.
I resonate with that.
Yeah. But, today we're going to go in deep about removing these reviews. So I guess the first question, how does a lower overall star rating influence a potential customer's decision to even click on a product listing?
Yeah, great question. So, really at the end of the day, I mean, obviously the lifeblood of Amazon is the reviews, right? I mean, that's what everybody looks at. You look at the reviews and you make a decision right away whether you want to buy it or not. If there's only 2 reviews and they have a 1 star on one of them and a 5 on the other, you're probably not going to buy it, right? I mean, just at the end of the day. So reviews are going to be, something that you want to, you want to be able to manage them correctly and make sure that they don't get out of hand, because we all know that if you drop down from like a 4.3 to a 4.2 or something like that, the issue is that you could drop from sales, depending on the category, you lose that half a star. You can go down anywhere from 10, 15, 20%. Yeah, like it's one of those things. I always try to encourage sellers to be, more proactive than reactive. At the end of the day, you're being reactive if you drop down. You're being proactive if you're saying, hey, I'm going to protect this hero ASIN, want to make sure that no bad things happen. And then once again, setting up what we call like a mode or anything. We have some interesting things that we do for monitoring them to make sure that if any, bad players come through and attack you, or if once again, if there's any reviews that are against Amazon's, community guidelines, great, we're filing on those. But, really at the end of the day, the reviews are just going to be the lifeline. It's important. You already touched on it earlier, Norm. There's when I talk to sellers, 99% of them have tried to remove reviews and have had no success doing that, right? Maybe 1%, maybe there's somebody on occasion that's been able to remove a review or had Amazon be proactive about that. That's just usually not what the deal is, right? Amazon's busy with a lot of other things and where they focus their time. The reviews aren't always number one for them. So, what we do is we go and we just want to get Amazon's attention and be able to file cases and make sure that they know that, hey, listen, what we're filing is really just things that are against their Amazon, against their guidelines, right? Which is what they created. And so we're just being more proactive about it. We just learned a lot through the years of filing a lot of cases on, what gets Amazon to respond and what Amazon doesn't respond to. So it's been an interesting journey, but it's when you talked about, sellers not being able to remove reviews, I had a seller that I talked with, this was a little while ago, and he had a really interesting analogy that he used. He's like, for me, reviews or bad reviews or negative reviews, they've always been like a rock in my sandal, right? Like that I can't get out. Like I could still walk, it's uncomfortable, but there's like almost feel like there's nothing I can do to get that rock out of my sandal. I just have to live with it, right? So I thought that was very interesting because it's like one of those things people just assume, there's nothing I can do. I just got to have to either, break it off, do a variation. There's something that I have to do, or, go ahead when you do a launch, you can just, not launch the product because you get a bad review. We're here to make sure that people that, once again, that have great products that are getting reviews that are against Amazon's guidelines or fraudulent, that we're able to, get those removed for the clients.
One of the things I've talked a lot about negative reviews, and not every negative review is a bad review. So one thing, I don't know about you, but I don't want to have all 5 stars in my listing. And if I'm just getting started, I might consider keeping any negative review. Depends on the review, but it comes down to trust. A lot of people, if they see all 5 stars or 5 or 4 stars, there's a red flag that goes up.
For sure.
So what we're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, I have a customer right now. They have a great product and they're just at 4.2. So some of those are unfair. The listings, we're talking about a non-alcoholic spirit, and they used it the wrong way. Like, non-alcoholic spirits are not going to taste like gin, tequila. It's just not going to happen. They're
Yeah,
used for mocktails. So they took the information, they drank it straight, and all of a sudden you get a bad review for it. So that's not fair. That's wrong. And it even says in the listing, this is what you're not supposed to do. But it brings us down under that 4.5. When people look at it, 4.5 stars. So what do? You take a look at removing those bad reviews, or if there's a smear campaign, or getting better reviews. Loving this episode? Sharing is caring. Don't forget to share this episode and give us a review.
yeah. Well, we encourage people to obviously get better reviews, right? Obviously, getting more 4 and 5 star reviews so you have control management of your
Right.
listing, right? But the other side of it is the what you just touched on is, at the end of the day, if there is some reviews that come in, and give you example, as you said, like a beverage, like I could try a beverage, you could try a beverage, we're gonna have two totally different opinions most of the time, right? And especially if you're drinking something thinking that it's something that it's not, right? No matter how many disclaimers, what's on the label, the little postcard that they have when you open it,
Yeah.
like, unfortunately, not all consumers read everything, look at everything. So you're not going to make everybody happy. So it is virtually impossible if you are successful on Amazon to not have some negative reviews. It's
Right.
just, you get to a certain point, it's just how it goes. It comes with being successful, right? It's going to happen, whether you're getting attacked or whether people don't like it. If you have 100% of the people that love your product, then there's absolutely something funny going on. It just doesn't happen that way, right? I mean, it's like everybody has an opinion. If you have 100 opinions, they're not all going to like the same thing. It's just that's that's what it is. So what we look at is, we're obviously not filing on all negative reviews, right? So if people come to us and say, hey, I've got 100, critical reviews, the 1, 2s, and 3 stars, we're not removing 100 critical reviews. We're just
Right.
not, because guess what? They're not all in violation, right? So the reviews can be a legit review. And what I mean by that is a review from a real person. But if they do anything to, once again, to violate Amazon's guidelines, that's, cussing in a review, mentioning a competitor, mentioning pricing, it could be a great review. It could be, whatever, 10 paragraphs. It could have all kinds of great information. People could have clicked that it's helpful, but that goes against Amazon's terms of service, or, of the guidelines. So that's really what we're looking at is looking at things like that, where, the way I look at it is if you get some that people are just a little crazy, right? They didn't read the things, and that kind of sucks. If we can go and remove some that, that would offset that one, right? So maybe this one doesn't get removed because they just don't like it. And Amazon could say that's a legit review and they didn't violate anything in Amazon's guidelines, right? Like it's a legit review. They don't cuss, they don't do anything. Then that's a legit review. There's really nothing we could do with that one. That one would stand. And also, bad reviews or negative reviews aren't always a terrible thing, right? I mean, you can use those to, once again, improve your product. You can use those to understand processes and maybe improve things. So even though they suck as an owner of a business, as a seller, I get that, right? Like it's like at the end of the day, oh man, I got a negative review, and especially when you're looking at it and going, oh my gosh, I did everything I could to prevent that because I did this and put it on the label, and I highlighted it and I put arrows towards it. Some people see it, some people don't see it. So that's one of those things where it's like, it's awesome, but it also becomes frustrating. So for us, if we're looking at 100 critical reviews, we're going to be filing not on all of those, right? So there's going to be a good percentage of those that are going to stay up there because we're not going to file just to file, right? The idea of this is that we're filing on things that Amazon set guidelines, and we're saying, hey, Amazon, our AI looks at that and says, hey, Amazon, there's issue because you guys made the rules and this person didn't follow the rules, and so hey, we want you to remove that review. So that, and then obviously we have sock puppet accounts and fake buyers accounts and stuff, or that's also what we look at as well, where that's going to be where somebody came and maybe bought 5-year products and gave you a 1-star review, right? Like that doesn't make sense. Like, Nora, let me ask you a question. You've been in the Amazon space long enough. If you bought a product and you absolutely hated it and gave it a 1-star, how many more do you buy?
Oh, at least 10.
I usually go with 20 because I have so much extra money. So for
Yeah.
me, and then I'll give them to people that I don't like. That's what I do. I buy really terrible products and I give them to people that I'm not fans of. No, I'm just kidding. I don't do that. But the point is we don't do that, right? Like we're not going to buy 5 products of something that we don't like. Or there's maybe 3 buyers accounts that are all in different areas that all wrote the exact same reviews when it's clearly a VA came in, had that brought the product and did it. So there's some really interesting things that happen that we've learned, and it's all due to the data that we have, from working on, reviews, removing reviews, and also looking at buyers' accounts as well.
Yeah, I also love the Lost Your Marbles review club.
Mm.
Like these are the people that, and I love these reviews because people just go idiot and move on. But like somebody buys some of my product is beauty products, so a Dead Sea soap, and the Dead Sea soap turned my white cloth brown. Okay, wash your cloth. And then the other one, this is my favorite, is that somebody bought. I have a green soap. Okay, and they told me they didn't like the hue of the green. So they gave me a 1. I responded to it, right? I'll give you another cent, but they didn't like the color of the green. So I got a 1-star. So those ones I keep in, those are the idiot effects. And people just look at them, laugh, and move on because they know it's somebody that's lost their marbles.
Well, the thing is this is just to make you feel more comfortable that those people that wrote those reviews are breeding, so their kids are going to be the same. So if we're
Oh,
ever
okay,
looking
okay.
at there's the craziness is not going to go away. I have I'm trying to think which ones I can tell you about. Some of them are a little inappropriate, but we've had some clients where I read the reviews and I'm like, what is going on? Like it's like I'll give you an analogy. This is how I kind of jumped into space a long time ago. Is I used to work with restaurants and they would have like Yelp reviews, and I would see these reviews where people would write something like, oh my God, the lasagna was great, but they didn't have 2-ply toilet paper, so I'm giving them a 1-star. And it's like, well, you're not eating the 2-ply toilet paper, right? Like, I mean, I understand that might be a bonus for you of something you're looking for in a restaurant, but like the idea is like, did you like the food? Like, it's just so it's a very interesting thing. People fixate on certain things, right? Or a table of 20 people and one person didn't like their meal, and so 19 people say, well, we didn't like our meal either. And it's like, well, all right. So I don't think people understand the magnitude of reviews of like that, how that can affect a business owner, whether that be an entrepreneur or that be an Amazon, somebody selling on Amazon. Like we really take that to heart, right? Like at the end of the day, like that is our product. We really take pride in it, or you should take pride in it. And when people give you a bad review, I mean, that hurts so many things on Amazon, right? I mean, not just your star rating, your BSR. I mean, it affects so many things. And unfortunately, that's why you get these some bad actors that will come in certain categories like supplements and stuff where they'll come and attack you. And unfortunately, they look at it and they go, well, from an ROI perspective, this is feasible, but it's not from an ethical perspective and from a karma perspective, it's not a good way to do business. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's happening, and it's very, very aggressive. And like I said, some, beauties, I'm sure you've seen, and then also in supplements and other categories. I mean, it's just a
Yeah.
very aggressive category, and you jump into it, and the minute you start making some money, there's going to be a bigger player that might come after you, or you all of a sudden get all these tons of reviews that are all these crazy things that, I tried this creatine and I can't see out of my right eye and my leg fell off, and it's like, really? Can you send me a picture of that? Because that sounds kind of interesting. That's crazy. You took creatine and that happened. So, and if that happened to anybody that's listening to this, I apologize. But for most part, that's not common with creatine, I think.
Right. So first of all, if you're listening, I'd really like to just get. I'd love to hear some of your horror stories. What are some dumb reviews or some interesting reviews that you've had? And Also, I want to know if you've been able to remove any reviews. So if you can just throw that over in the comment section, that would be great. And don't forget that ask us questions. You got an expert on the line how to do it. If you've tried and failed, give us some questions, or if you like to know how to do it. So I mean, the next question is going to be about maybe you can share some tips with us on how you can get some negative reviews removed. Want to know the top AI predictions that will completely change your business in 2025? Check out another episode here with our special guest, Kevin King.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, we're a service that does that, but I mean, we always encourage people to try on their own as well, right? I mean, that's one of the things that I talk to people about is have you tried to remove reviews on your own? Because I do think it's important. It's a important process to go through. The same way that I always tell people, like my son, I was like, hey, you need to work in a restaurant for at least a year, right? Because I think that's important to understand, how things work and logistics and stuff like that. So it's the same thing with this. I love when we have sellers that have tried to remove reviews that have, and maybe even if they've had some success, I think that's awesome. I mean, the goal of this is to understand the intricacies and what it really takes to remove reviews because Amazon in theory is supposed to, if it's against the guidelines, they're supposed to move them automatically. It doesn't happen automatically 99% of the time. So that's where we come in. But if people are looking to file cases, I mean, really at the end of the day, there's a few things that you can do, obviously you can click the report button, right, which is a lot of the times what Amazon wants you to do. You can obviously file cases through Seller Central, which means you can put a case together. When you're filing those cases, though, you want to make sure that you're trying to leave the emotion out of it, which is a lot of the times very hard because if somebody's attacking you, then most people's natural reaction is either fight or flight. So you're in a situation where you're either going to, hey, you're going to go to war, which let me tell you, if you go to war with Amazon, you'll lose about 100% of the time, right? If you go and you badmouth Amazon and you say, hey, this is ridiculous, you guys are terrible, you're going to get more bees with honey, right? So at the end
Right.
of the day, and really what you want to do is when you're filing cases, you want to make sure you're putting a lot of information in there and good information, right? Because the people on the other end, you're talking about, customer service, people that are there, they don't have 5 hours to do all the research and be able to look at this and look at that. They have think about how many cases come in on a daily basis. I mean, I wish I had that number. It's probably hundreds, if not thousands, per customer service rep, right? So they have to make a decision. We assume is within 30 seconds to a minute. We want them to be able to look at this and say, hey, there you go. So once again, try to leave the emotion out of it. Don't pack it with tons of stuff that's not relevant, right? If somebody says, XYZ, then you want to answer XYZ, right? But you want to make sure that it's factual, right? So for us, we look at statistics, like I said earlier, Norm. So if like I asked you, hey, if you buy a product and you get a 1 star, what's the likelihood you buy 5 more or 10 more? Right? It's just not. That's not how we work as humans. You might buy a second one for whatever reason, but you're not buying a third, fourth to a tenth, right? So let's take a look at that. So if you grab that information and say, hey, Amazon, what is statistically the likelihood that somebody buys 5 products in 3 days, then gives us a 1 star review, right? And statistically, you can figure that out. So you want to come with just facts and information, right? Because if you don't come with that, then guess what's going to happen? Then you're going to have a situation where it's emotional, it's related with, whatever you want to say to Amazon, they're not going to respond to that. They want to make a decision. They want to make a decision quick. What I explain to people is the analogy I always use is, if your car gets broken into, more than likely, nobody's going to come out. You're not going to have, 9 cop cars come out and they're not going to, dust everything and take pictures of everything. I mean, there's somebody broke in your car. Like it happens 1,000 times a day. Like it's not that big of a deal, unless you get your car broken into. But the reason I'm saying that is what we do is we do the investigative work for Amazon. So we'll take pictures of the person breaking into the car. We have the video footage. We already took prints. And so what we're doing, what our thing is, hey, we're bringing you a case. We're bringing you all the information, and we want facts, right? Not like I think it was this or I think it was that. I'd rather bring a picture and say, hey, this is absolutely who broke into my car. Guess what? Now the detective can go make an arrest, right? So that's what we look at is like, hey, what are factual things? What are things that we can validate that once again that supports the fact that this is a review that should be removed, and what does that look like? But come with facts. Come with facts. That's going to be the key.
Okay. The other thing I like to point out too is there's times to spend good money. This is a place to spend good money. Now, a lot of times, especially if you're new, you're spending good money on bad services or things you could do yourself. This is something you don't want to do yourself. Just like if you have a suspension, you want to go to an expert. Don't try to do it yourself, especially if you're making some cash. Like if you're profiting every month 10, 20, $30,000 or more, uh, why are you trying to do it yourself and it takes you so long or it gets denied? That's the same thing with a negative review. If you're doing this yourself, it might cost you a little money to have a professional do it, but why not? It will, at least the service will tell you exactly what's wrong and if it doesn't get removed or if it does get removed. And especially, this is something that I want to talk about a little bit later on, but is your performance. Like with your performance clause, that's exactly what this is. You're not paying for negative reviews to get removed, and if if they don't get removed, you're not getting paid. I'm just touching on your service for a second, but I think that's really important to know that don't be afraid to spend money, and if it doesn't get removed, don't worry about it. So
No, that's exactly it. I mean, at the end of the day, we have a performance-based model. So if we file cases and we don't get reviews removed, guess what? Then the client doesn't pay. So obviously people really enjoy that. And for us, it's that way it's performance driven, right? We know that, hey, if we're filing 10 cases and we don't get anything removed, great, they're not going to pay. But we're obviously not in the business of not removing reviews. This is exclusively what we do. We don't do anything else because of the magnitude of what this is and what this means to sellers. Um, you know, the other thing I think you were touching on a little earlier, you just were talking about is, the sellers and being able to do this on their own. You can absolutely try. And once again, as I said, I always encourage people to understand the value of the service, and you'll understand that once you start trying to file cases and trying to get Amazon to react to that. I've always been, I used to be an entrepreneur where I would take it all on myself, right? Nothing. I'll work 20 hours a day. It's not a problem. Everything runs through me. And guess what happens? You become the bottleneck, right? So great, you can go and change your own oil in your car. You absolutely can. You can spend 8 hours doing that. In my situation, these cute little hands are for keyboards. So if I was to go change my oil, it would only take me about 3 months, give or take, maybe 4 months. So I look at the value of my time, right? And once again, if you're not making enough money, guess what? You're the treasury, the secretary, you're the review guard, you're everything, right? But if you're making money, Norm, as you touched on, it really makes sense to delegate, right? Because you're going to build a lot stronger team if you have 5, 6 people all doing things that they specialize in, reviews, PPC, management, whatever that is. You're going to have a stronger team by doing that, assuming you can afford it, right? And then you can just focus on growth. You can focus on other things, because a lot of the times in our businesses we become the firemen, right? And what happens is you go into a meeting, you're like, hey, I've got nothing but good intentions, and guess what happens? Then all of a sudden you're like, you're putting out fires all day long and you don't have time to grow your business, or you're working on filing cases to remove reviews, and that can take, how many days is it going to take for you to try to figure that out? And then what is your time worth? Like if you could double your business in sales, then my cost is nothing to you, right? And especially because we're performance based, but the cost is nothing if you're working on really is going to grow the business. And so that was a big learning lesson for me. Once again, I was working easily 20 hours a day. I was 30 pounds heavier. And I was like, nope, everything goes through me. Well, guess what? I started falling behind on stuff because guess what? I'm human, right?
yeah,
You only have so many productive hours in a day. And I can promise you, when you start getting into 15, 16, 17, 18, you might be doing something, but are you being productive? Right. And
exactly. Yeah.
that's the value of it.
Okay, so we are at the bottom of the hour, and like I said at the top of the hour, I mentioned that you got to stay tuned. We have a really incredible giveaway today. Shane, why don't you tell us what that is? Don't forget to subscribe right now and join us every Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time for our live recording of the Lunch with Norm podcast. And don't forget that you have a chance to win big with our weekly giveaways.
Yeah. So I don't know if this has ever happened on the podcast before. Norm decided to pull out his wallet, which is
Uh-oh.
amazing. I'm not saying that he hasn't done this in the past. He's a
It's
very generous
Kelsey's
man.
wallet, actually.
Even
Yeah.
better. See, we have some philanthropists here. I don't know if you guys knew that, but what we're doing is we're actually going to anybody that decides to go through a demo with us and decides to sign up with us. Norm has decided to pay for the first 2 reviews, which is a $500 value, for free. So once again, let me reiterate that. If you guys sign up, we do a demo, and you guys sign up with the program, we would add 2 free credits to your account, which means that you guys get a $500 for free all because of Mr. Norman Kelsey opening up their generous wallets, even after Christmas, right? I mean, they're still very caring gentlemen. They open it up. I haven't given him an invoice yet, but I know that he showed me his wallet and there's tons of cash in there because obviously he's very successful on
That's
Amazon.
Kelsey again. Yep.
Is that Kelsey again? Kelsey's the big breadwinner, huh? Well, he's going to
Yep.
get your money. Well, let's not get into that right now. I don't want to get into that right now. But that's awesome. I know that somebody's paying. One of the somebody in the family over there is going to be paying for this, but we're going to figure that out. But at the end of the day, you guys don't worry about the logistics on who's paying. Just know that you're going to get 2 reviews removed for free.
Very good. And the grand prize winner today.
I know this is a lot to take in. I sure hope everybody's sitting down here. So what we're looking at is, the grand prize winner is going to get not 2 reviews removed for free, but 4. That's almost like double if you're really good with math. No need for an Excel spreadsheet there. 2 times 2 equals 4. So guess what? You will get 4 reviews removed for free. That's gratis for anybody that's Italian. I think that's also Spanish. Anyways, you get my point. Doesn't cost you anything.
And that's a great deal. So if you're interested, and I would be very interested in this because it's a very generous offer, you can enter the Wheel of Kelsey as Steve Fillion just did. #Wheel of Kelsey. If you tag 2 people, you'll get a second entry. So once again, 4 negative reviews removed. And if you're a listener and you want to try out that service, there's 2 reviews removed. So now I am going right into. I didn't have time to record your ad there, Shane. So I'm going to read it live, and I hope I don't blow it. But here we go. Tired of negative reviews dragging down your star rating and sales? TraceFuse has your back. TraceFuse specializes in removing non-compliant Amazon reviews the right way, 100% compliant with Amazon's terms of service. With over 11,000 reviews removed for 400 brands, they know what it takes to protect your reputation and boost your conversions. And here's the best part. You only pay for performance. That means you only pay for reviews they successfully remove. No contracts, no monthly fees, just results. Plus, as a Lunch with Norm listener, you get the first 2 reviews removed are free. Ready to clean up your reviews? Visit tracefuse.ai. That's TraceFuse, TRASCE, Fuse, FUSE.ai. Okay, let's get back to it. All right, I almost got it right.
It's almost like that wasn't the first time you've done that. That sounded pretty good, brother. I mean, you're good.
Oh, thank you. So now let's talk about the role of the Amazon algorithm. So what role does the Amazon algorithm play in prioritizing products with higher reviews or higher ratings? And how do negative reviews disrupt this?
Yeah, easy for you to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
so at the end of the day, I mean, it's reviews as we talked about is a lifeline, right? So if you start getting negative reviews, especially if you just launched, that's a death sentence, right? I mean, it just is with anybody, and unfortunately, sometimes that just happens, and then there's other times it can be nefarious players, people that are attacking you. So negative reviews, if you get a lot of negative reviews, you're talking about your BSR is gonna go up, right? Which you don't want it to go up. You want it to get close as you can to 1, obviously for sales purposes. You're just gonna affect it. Actually affects your PPC as well, like the cost for your PPC. We all know that if you get below a 4.0, that you're not gonna be able to run ads, like especially like around Christmas and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that Amazon uses the review system as a way for them to be able to recognize whether you're a good seller or not. And once again, that could be a direct indicator, or it could not be a direct indicator, depending on what happens there. So the review thing, I think, it's not something, I've heard people say, oh, it's not that big, we're not too worried about it. In the Amazon space, you have to be worried about it. Really, in anything, any place that you get a review, if you're not paying attention to it, that's how things can take off virally. There's things that can happen there that you really have to manage it. You have to really be proactive about it. But once again, I think a lot of sellers have become numb to it for the reason that they say, hey, it's not possible to remove them, so why focus on it, right? Some people go, hey, I'm not going to focus on it. Other people go, they just stare at it every day when they're drinking their coffee, which is not healthy. I'm just going to throw that out there too. But, it's like, but it affects so many different things on Amazon. And if you've been selling on Amazon, you know that. There's so many different things. And I'm here to tell you that if you're worried about you didn't think your reviews could be removed. Well, we're at over 11,000 reviews that we removed for our clients so far. So we are definitely the industry leader. They're really the only ones that can do this at scale.
Okay, so there's a lot of new Amazon sellers, medium or just intermediate Amazon sellers, and advanced Amazon sellers that listen to this, and a lot of sellers don't realize that there is a significant effect in discoverability with when it comes to the review to rating ratio. Can you get into that a bit?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, Amazon wants to put the best option out there, right? And that's going to be heavily based on reviews. I grew up in the SEO industry, so you have to realize is that, at the end of the day, it's the same thing with Google. Google wants to put the best result up there. So if you're putting, Pizzeria New York, they want to put the one that has the best ratings, the one that, people are, they look at that. They use that as a factor. And it's the same thing with Amazon, right? Like if you have bad reviews, Amazon's not going to put you. If you have bad customer service, there's a lot of variables that they look at, but that's going to make it so whether you get the buy box or not, and what that looks like. If you don't respond for one day, guess what? I don't care what your ratings or your reviews are, Amazon's going to drop you, or at least drop you down in the ratings. The reason why is because they want people that are proactive, they want people that have great products, and people that have great reviews. So if you might have a great product, you start slipping in those reviews, that's where that's where sock puppet accounts and these fake accounts can come in, and they know that if you're at a 4.2, if they can give you 5 or 6 or 10 more one-star reviews, that knocks you down to a 4.0. Guess what? You're not going to be running any ads during Christmas or Prime Day. So unfortunately, there's that. Once again, people that just violate the guidelines maybe don't know it, but the other side of it is absolutely people that are very strategic, VAs that get assigned to, guess what, give you a 1 star and give your competitor 5 stars. And that's one of the things that we look at. If I have, one person, we have Jennifer Smith out of LA, and she's bought 20 products in total. She bought 10 of my creatine and said it was the worst thing ever, and bought 10 of another creatine from a competing company and said it was the best thing ever. She's gained muscle mass. She's lost 10 pounds. She has a new husband. He's a billionaire. Like, oh my God, all these great things happen because of this creatine. I'm being a little facetious, but once you see as many reviews as I have, it gets a little crazy out there. But then we look at that and say, okay, what's the likelihood of that, right? We talk statistically, does that make sense that, this person only hated our products and they bought the exact same products from a competitor, but they loved them. So those are the kind of the anomalies that we look at in the data where we go, oh, that doesn't make sense, right? Statistically, that doesn't work. Emotionally, that really sucks. But, statistically, that's what we want to talk about. It's all facts driven.
So you talked about buy box eligibility. So are there specific steps sellers can take to recover that buy box eligibility after receiving these poor reviews?
Man, that's the loaded question, right? Like, how do I
Yes,
get the buy box? I know, man.
exactly.
You turned me into like the oracle there for a hot second. Hopefully I can answer that. Yeah, I mean, really, once again, it just there's a number of variables that obviously that make it so you can get the buy box. I can guarantee you that if you get a ton of negative reviews, you're not going to get the buy box. I mean, you're definitely going to lose that. That's a very quick way to lose the buy box very fast. Once again, nefarious players know that, and maybe you have a good product and you just got a few bad reviews. Once again, that happens. It's something that you need to look at. Probably look at your product if there are legit reviews, if there's something there. The other upside to this too, because I have a lot of people that will ask us these questions about when an ASIN was created and if we can remove the reviews from a year to 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Because a lot of the times we have a product, we launch a product, and then we figure out, we see the reviews and we go, oh, we gotta update this, we gotta plug this, we got to do this, we got to improve it. Great, now you have my product 2.0, and then we get some other better reviews, but there's still a few things wrong with it. It leaks when you put it in the water, whatever it is, right? Great, now we go 3.0, and so a lot of people just assume the reviews you got from product iteration 1 and 2, you just got to live with them, but you don't. You don't. We actually can file on all the way back from when that ASIN got created. So in that situation, when you look at those reviews and you want to get that buy box, if you start cleaning up those 1s and 2s, and guess what? You're going to get to a great point. There's a higher likelihood you're going to get that buy box. And then by us monitoring, because that's what we do as well, when you have an activation with us in the back end on the software, if a case comes in, guess what? We're going to be filing on that case usually within a few days. So once again, now you're actually monitoring that. So we want to make it so reviews aren't something that sellers have to stress out about. I mean, obviously it's a big part of the business, but we want them to have to worry about the million other things that the sellers have to worry about. That being a seller, you have to be the president, secretary, as I talked about earlier, right? All those things you have to worry about. Once you start making some revenue, then you need to look at, hey, what am I going to delegate? Have I had any success with this? I'm doing my own PPC, but I'm not making any money, right? So, okay, well, great. You should probably find somebody to do that. But delegation is the key with this. And once again, we're no different. That's why I encourage people to go try to remove the reviews. If you have success doing it, guess what? You don't need to hire us. That's awesome. Like I have no problem with that. Like if you have success, of people that have said, hey, I've filed 10 cases and I removed 2 reviews, I'm like, man, high five. That is awesome. Like I've actually told people, hey, go try it yourself and then come back. And if it makes sense, great, let's work together.
So this is something I really didn't think about, but just talking with you about this, I got to ask you. So, how do negative reviews contribute to higher return rates? I didn't even think that a negative review would cause a increase in return rates.
Well, think about it. If your first impression, if your first impression is reading negative reviews and you just bought the product, like my mom's done this. Hopefully my mom listened to this. I love you, mom, if you're listening. You think about this is that, somebody goes and buys a product and then they're like, you know what, I'm gonna do a little more research, right? Let me go and look into this. And you start seeing all these negative reviews. Guess what? When you go and you get that product, in your mind, you're thinking, oh, these are some of the things I need to look for, right? Whether they're true or not true. So what you're doing is you're already sending them around the wrong direction, right? That can become a problem. Like if I go and I order some food at a restaurant and I sit down and the food's coming out and I start reading reviews and they said, oh my God, the eggs Benedict is terrible. When that eggs Benedict comes, I'm automatically thinking this is not going to be good, right? We're already setting the foundation for that. So negative reviews, once again, get people thinking a certain way. You're lucky if somebody bought a product and then reads the reviews. But guess what? That's usually not how we work. We usually
Mm.
go and read the reviews and go, okay, does this seem like a legit review? And that's another thing that we can talk about is the types of reviews that we can get removed. Amazon wants a review that's comprehensive, that really explains the product and what was good, what wasn't good. So if somebody put terrible product, that's something that we potentially can get removed because that's not really a review, right? That's very short. Amazon wants a review. They want it to be constructive. So usually, like with the shorter reviews, there can be some play there sometimes with Amazon and getting those removed because it's just not constructive, right? We want things that people read and they go, okay, that gives me a better idea of the product. The good, the bad, the ugly. The hard ones are, when we've seen a lot of this is where people will put, oh my God, great product, loved it, used it, everything is awesome, 3 out of 5 stars, love it. And it's like, wait, what? Like, you understand 3 out of 5 stars is like 60%. That's like getting a D on a test and going, man, I crushed that. No, not really. I'm not here to, I mean, you get a participation award these days, but that's definitely not at 60%. That's not going to be, you don't get the placard. You're not going home with the trophy. So, that's what we have to look at. Those are the hard ones, are the ones that people like the product and for whatever reason they don't, or we've seen this where people, review a product that's not even their product, right? Which is crazy. Or it's FBA related, right? Amazon shipped it out. Hey, the package came broken or it was used. And you're like, I'm FBA. I sent it to Amazon and then things, and mistakes happen. I
I
mean,
saw
that's
that
just,
yesterday. I saw it
yeah.
yesterday
I'm,
on
I'm,
some a client's
it,
listing.
it's common. And once again, we can either go, oh, Amazon, what the heck? Or we can, you can either try to file yourself and do that and say, hey, this is FBA, the product was broken, this happened, and if they don't respond, guess what? You can hire us and we'll get them to respond. But the FBA thing or even Vine reviews,
Mhm.
not all Vine reviews are perfect. People cuss in the reviews and do this and do that. Well, if it's against the guidelines, whether it's a Vine review or not, that also is something that we can go after. So we get a lot of people that say, well, Vine reviews, but you can't. I say, no, you can. Because once again, a cuss word is a cuss word, right? Whether it's a Vine review, whether it's a real, a real customer, whatever that is, it's still in violation. So those are still things that we would take a look at. Now, I would hope that there's no fraudulent stuff happening with Vine reviews. We haven't uncovered anything like that, but definitely things that have against the guidelines.
I have don't expect Vine reviews to be all 5 star. I've had clients work with Vine, and well, they gave me a 3 star, they gave me a 2 star.
It's no, it's not a perfect process. Yeah, if you're going into that, I think there's some things you have to realize. The Vine thing, because we all go in, I think for the most part, when we launch a product, whether you spent 2 months on it or you spent 2 years on it, we want to believe that it's, if we're launching this to the public, we're going to say, hey, this is the best product that we have to date, right? Let's let the world see this. And there's a lot of things that can happen in that situation where you get those Vine reviews when you get a 2 star and a 3 star. And you're like, yeah, but I just paid for those. Paying for those, once again, as you said, does not equate to a 5 star review, right? And you kind of get your feelings hurt a little bit. I'll tell you a quick little story. And this is funny. So I, have all kinds of clothes, and I'm kind of a clothes guy, and so I would go in, and it's like the not the thrift store, but you go in, you can, like, give them the clothes, and they'll give you, like, a quarter for your, $500 jacket or something. Like, they don't give you anything. And I had all of the, I brought in all my stuff, and she's like, they didn't even give me a dollar. And so it, like, hurt my feelings, like I was like, wait, like, I'm giving you this jacket that's $500. And if you gave me a dollar, I wouldn't be happy, but at least I would feel like I have a little bit of style. And I got nothing. So my point of that is, I went in there and I got disappointed. My expectation was that I was going to make some money. Your expectation with Vine is that you're going to get 5-star reviews. And maybe, once again, you're dealing with the human public, right? So you're dealing with the public. So that doesn't mean that everybody's sane. That doesn't mean that everybody's going to love your product. Some people might be, you come up with your new creatine, and they might love this other creatine, and they go, it's just not as good as the other one. Well, you don't know who you're getting on that side, right? Like, I mean, they vet them, but they're not vetting them to say that they're not going to be honest. And some people are over the top honest. I've seen some Vine reviews that I'm like, wow, like, it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's like, when you read that and you're like, ooh, and you paid for that. I mean, that's a double whammy. It's one thing to, if somebody to buy a product and give you a bad review. It's another thing to say, hey, let me give you some money to trash talk my product. Like, that's a lot of crow to eat. But you got to expect that might happen, and you got to be willing to, to roll those dice if that's going to happen.
So here's a question I'm not sure if you can answer, but with ChatGPT and all these LLMs, a lot of reviewers, I would expect, are using it to come up with in like detailed reviews. So do you know if Amazon is weighing? Because I know that they can tell it's an AI created review. Do they weigh that any different?
Um, I would say that they do, right? Because AI obviously is newer. More and more people are hearing about it. Obviously, Chat GPT and everything. So, I mean, I think even Google is looking at that, of, like, when people write, because you can write a blog post, a 1,500-word blog post, within minutes, right, or seconds. I mean, it's pretty crazy if you put in the right keywords and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I think everybody is starting to, and even, the FTC had talked about, reviews that come through, and you're not supposed to do AI-based reviews. There was some things going on there. So I think it's like one of those things. It's happening, and people are trying to figure out how to maintain it. And I believe Amazon knows, right? I mean, Amazon's a pretty big company. Last time I checked, I think they've got a little bit of money and a few engineers behind the scene. I'm pretty sure of it. Haven't been there myself, but rumors have it that they've got a pretty big team. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they know what the AI looks like. I mean, we have AI software. That's what we've based this off of. But I can tell you that when we use the AI just to say whether it's compliant or not. We're not doing automated. There's no automation on Amazon. So when we file, that's being done by human filers. I joke around and tell people it's these things called humans that will all be gone in the next year anyways. But some of us will be around, but for the most part, it'll just be the people that understand how to control the AI bots. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't do that. So if you wanted to use AI and you want to just automatically file with Amazon, you can't do that. It needs to be manually filed. So you got to be very careful with that. You don't want to put yourself at risk. And we would never automatically file like that. We would never put any of our sellers' accounts at risk, because we understand what it takes to grow that business. And guess what? That's how they feed their family. So we take that very seriously.
Okay, this will be my last question, and then we'll go to the listeners' questions. But I think this is really important. Are there any strategies sellers can use to address issues flagged in negative reviews and prevent returns in the future?
Yeah, I mean, so you're talking about when somebody writes a review, and then what you can do to improve your product?
To address that flag. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's softwares out there that you can look at, or you can look at reviews, depending on how many you have, when it talks about sentiment, right? So in other words, whether people are saying, hey, we like this new product or we don't, you usually have to have a good amount of reviews to obviously understand that. If you only have 10, you can obviously look at them yourself. But usually, if they're people that are I joke around, if they're on their medication and they're not writing crazy stuff and they're being productive. Not that you have to be on medication to be productive. I'm not giving anybody a hard time, but sometimes it helps, right? From the research I've done. But yeah, you really want to be able to go in, and when people are writing stuff, if you consistently start seeing the same thing, hey, this is, out of 10 reviews, 9 of them said, hey, this is too sweet, right? Then maybe maybe it is too sweet, right? Or if there's only 2 out of 10, then you go, okay, well, it's 80 out of 20 rule, right? I got 8 people that said they like it, 20% said they don't like it, and that's still okay. Once again, if you're going for 100% satisfaction, you are going to be thoroughly disappointed. And I don't care what your product is, because once again, you get to a certain level and you're going to get somebody that is crazy or that just doesn't like your product. And that's okay too, right? But there's definitely constructive things that you should do, because we're not going to go and remove 100% of those reviews, right? That's not possible. And I don't think that's also constructive, right? Because at the end of the day, it's important. You got to take that in as an owner and say, okay, what do we need to do to improve things? You should always be looking at that. It's like, the only consistent thing is change. And that's hard for a lot of people. A lot of people, don't want to change because they're like, well, I like the way that it is. But I can tell you, if you don't change, Amazon's constantly changing, right? And so you also have to iterate as well. I talk to people who've been in the space for 10 years and, hey, we've seen a million changes. Okay, great. You got to expect the same thing with this. Your product is going to have to evolve. There's going to be somebody that's going to have your product, but 2.0 features, right? So you're always going to have to iterate.
Perfect. Okay. So if you're interested in our giveaway today, it's hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. Tag two people, you get a second entry. I would definitely, if I could, I haven't been allowed to. Shane said I can't, but definitely get into this. This is, 4 negative reviews removed, and it's just an awesome giveaway. So there was one other thing. Yes, if you've liked what you heard today, there's a lot of information today about negative reviews that at least at first glance you wouldn't even think of. So if you like the information today, give us a like, share out the episode when it goes on to YouTube, and then let's see, Kelsey.
First question is from Bartnet. Is it possible to influence the AI summary at the top of the comments? I have 5 positive and 2 negative, and those negative are itching me and perhaps some of the potential customers.
So are you talking about, I just want to clarify, are we talking about trying to remove those reviews or trying to like change what they say?
I think it's the Rufus kind of the
Ah,
up where it says like this
like
product is X, Y, and Z.
so it gives like the sediment, right? Rufus is going to be like, hey, overall people think this, and this. So, I mean, yes. So, I mean, obviously, those comments, whatever people write, positive or negative, are going to adjust for with AI, right? So, if you have more negative comments, it's going to have more negative things that it talks about. So, in my opinion, in this situation, obviously, try to remove the two negative reviews that are there, but obviously push on the 4s and 5 stars, right? Get as many 4 and 5 star reviews as you can to offset that. What I always tell people, it's kind of like a diet. If you just work out and you eat crappy food, you're going to lose weight slower. But if you work out and eat good food, like I've always been great at working out, but not great at eating amazing, food that also helps us. So I lose weight. So in this situation, yeah, get as many 4 and 5 stars as you can, and then try to knock down those 2 stars. If not, you can reach out to us and we can help you.
I always found that the cigar and Coke Zero diet is quite effective.
I didn't want to bring it
And on
up, but
that
I
note,
just, yeah, so take a little sip of Coca-Cola and I'll go smoke my cigar. Yeah, no, I know you like the pricey cigars too. I've seen you out there smoking, brother.
all right, next question.
All right, our last question. What is the score you don't want to go below? Is it 4.3 and above acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, I would say 4.3, right? I mean, you get down to a 4.2, then you're losing that half a star, which is just brutal on sales. Like I said, it can be 15 to 35% drop in sales. So you really want to be proactive about that. And then obviously, 4.0, and there's some other ones that make it so maybe you can do some advertising and some other things. So, 4.3 is really, really where you want to stay. If you're at 4.3, and it's a lot better to have like what we do as a monitoring system to make sure that you don't go down to that 4.2, because if you go down to a 4.2 and then we have to start filing some cases, there's no guarantee that we're going to be able to remove reviews within the first day or 2 or 3. So you don't want to get down, you're down 30% in your sales and it takes us weeks to get Amazon to remove some of those reviews. How much are you going to lose in sales? So the way I tell people is, hey, be proactive. You're at 4.3, have us start filing now so you get up to a 4.4, 4.5. Great. So you're protecting that, right? You don't want to wait till you slip, because when you slip, what it costs for our service, right? Performance-based service, and the amount of money that you will lose is not going to be the same. You're going to lose a lot more money historically, depending on the category and what that is, if you just wait to drop to a 4.2 and then you come to me and go, oh my God, help me. It's going to be a lot of sleepless nights. It would be better if you're proactive, don't lose those sales, stay at a 4.3, and then once again, file those cases to have a stronger hold on that rating.
It's almost like, and I've seen this with our clients, that once you hit that 4.2, it's like you said, is a huge dramatic difference
Brutal.
in sales. But what also happens is, let's say you start to get a couple of negative reviews. It's just like a sports team. Once they get the momentum, all of a sudden other people are going to see this, especially if they're recent reviews. I see this all the time. Now it's a 1, 2, 3. And to get back to people looking and giving their feedback as 5-star, 4-star, they're jumping on whatever bandwagon they see a lot of the times.
Yeah, it's that first impression. So guess what? If you plant that in their head, that guess what? You're not going to have a great experience. If I go to a restaurant, my mom says, "Hey, man, the food was not good there." I'm probably not even going to go there. If I'm going there, I'm looking for a booger. Literally, not in your
Yeah.
food, hopefully, but like I'm looking for a reason not to like it because that's what people have told me. But most of the time, we won't even make it to the restaurant because if my mom says, "Hey, I don't like that restaurant," guess what? I'm probably not going to like it. So you don't even get to the point where somebody's in your restaurant to even make it right. So once again, people read that and they go, "Oh, shoot, well, now it's in my mind because I think that I'm gonna have a bad experience." Or let me give you another example. They talk about this, wine companies and beer companies do this. Well, they'll go and you try the wine, oh, it's good wine. But if they tell you the story behind the wine and what happened and this, that, and the other, and you're like, "Oh my God, the wine will taste 10 times better." Why? Because you just heard this story about Giuseppe that had one seed that came over from Italy and he planted it in California. And now we've got, all these old vine, Zinfandel. So anyway, my point is it's like now it tastes better because you have the story and you're like, "Oh, that's awesome." If you see negative stuff, guess what? You're already thinking negative thoughts.
All right. Now we can get your contact information before we go to the wheel.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So you guys can reach me at Shane, that's SHANE, at TraceFuse, that's TRCEFUSE.ai. Also, there is a landing page. That's the one that you guys are going to want to fill out the information. The one that Norm or that Kelsey, I think, put up a little earlier. That's going to be the one where you guys are going to get the 500 or the 2 reviews or the 500 credits. That's 2 credits removed for free. So please click on that, fill out some information, and then I'll do a little demo for you, and I'll kind of show you how the software works, and we'll talk about our success rates, which just so you guys know, our success rate, just so everybody knows, is right around 5 to 15%. So about 10%. So you have 100 critical reviews, you're going to move probably about 10 of those depending on the category. Some categories are higher, just a heads up.
Okay, very good. All right, Kels, let's go to a sponsor, then over to the wheel. Hey, Amazon sellers, are you leaving money on the table with Amazon? Well, TrueOps is here to help you reclaim every last cent you're owed. Over 1,400 brands have already recouped millions with TrueOps cutting-edge technology. Finding reimbursements others may have missed. And guess what? You only pay 10% commission, no more overpaying the industry standard of 25%. Plus, the first $1,000 in reimbursements is free to you. Here's the best part. TrueOps doesn't get paid unless you do. If Amazon ever reverses a claim, TrueOps automatically credits your fees back to you. Now that's peace of mind. Remember, $1,000 free reimbursements to start, then just 10% of successfully recovered funds. You have nothing to lose but the 3 minutes it takes to sign up for a free audit and so much more to gain. Sign up with the link in the description and start reclaiming what's rightfully yours. All right, Shane, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Hey, thanks for having us, man. This was awesome. Kelsey, thank you so much. And Norm, thank you so much.
All right, very good. We're going to remove you and we'll talk to you in a bit.
Sounds good.
If you want to check out different ways that you can communicate or be part of the community, we have the podcast. We have a newsletter at lwn.news. We have the WhatsApp group and we have the Facebook group. Anything you want, you can have one or you can have them all. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. And we look forward to seeing you live next Wednesday.
Lunch with the